My name is Griffin, and this is Corbin.
You're not gonna say it again?
Not gonna do it again. This is take 2, and we had a stupid intro before, and you know what? We're not running with it this time. Yeah, this is Formula None, where we talk about anything but Formula One. Today, what we're gonna focus on is we're gonna green flag a little bit of MotoGP and the Argentine Grand Prix. Grand Prix. We're gonna yellow flag the 12 Hours of Sebring, and then another thing we're gonna yellow flag is a little bit of Formula One on the Formula None podcast, specifically the Australian Grand Prix, with a little bit of attention paid to the fact that we watched this in a very interesting place.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it was a different experience, unlike anything we've done before, at least with regards to Formula One. Let's kick it off. Corbin, you want to start us?
Let's dive on in. We're starting with the MotoGP. This was at in Argentina.
And that is at the Rio Honda circuit. Yeah, I noticed first and foremost with when the circuit map came up, it kind of looks like the silhouette of a gun on an N64 game. I don't have much more to say to that, but it just made me think of something that you would see as an outline in maybe GoldenEye or something like that.
I love track, layout, shape, conversation, famously.
Famously. Good track shapes and such.
They're great to discuss.
Yes.
Sebring, when we get to that. I love the shape of Sebring.
Great shape. As for the race itself, Pecco Bagnaia, he crashed out during practice. Sorry, Pecco, he's one of the better guys. Binded. Brad Binder, he binned in the sprint during the first lap after making light contact with Morbidelli. And Morbius is what I'm going to call Morbidelli. Morbius sweep was inside of Binder, and they just happened to touch when Morbidelli went wide, and made contact with Binder and sent him off into the turn. The sprint had the same finishing order as the previous race in Thailand. Mark and Alex Marquez finished first and second respectively, because those brothers are just untouchable. And then it was followed by Pecco Bagnaia in third, who got third in both the sprint and the full race in Thailand. During Q2, the second qualifying session, Marc Marquez set the fastest lap ever at the track.
Dude's an animal.
It was crazy. The previous lap record was 1 minute 38 seconds, and he brought it in a little bit over 1 minute and 36. And even then, it was a quarter of a second clear of his brother, who was his only remote competition. So dude's clearly doing something very right.
I mean, I think I heard something during practice earlier that he's breaking his own records. He's just, I don't know what it, honestly, one of my few notes for this race was, who are these Marquez guys? Because
what lab were these guys grown in?
Who are these superhumans?
Yeah, they're doing some nasty things. And even then, I was also kind of shocked about the fact that motorcycles have the fastest lap. But I mean, it made sense because they don't have any real notable car races. They don't have
there's not really any open wheel there, right?
Yeah, they had a Formula Series there back in the day. I'm curious, is this a grade 2 circuit then, if there's no Formula? Yeah, it's grade 2 circuit.
What does that mean?
Yeah. The FIA has different grades to all their circuits, and it basically has to do with the types of amenities that it has. So it'll be anything from the width of the tracks to make sure it can accommodate different amount of cars.
Right.
It'll also have to do with the millimeter depths of any kind of essentially pothole, for lack of a better term, in the circuit. It'll have to do with runoff areas, curbing, as well as the literal space in the paddocks. So, I mean, because something like Formula One, it's just such a huge literal production.
Right.
You need so much space to host all of these cars and the media and the personnel that come with it. And then in terms of how fast these cars are, if they go off in a turn, they're going to have a lot more momentum and speed, so they're going to need more gavel traps and catch fences and all that kind of stuff. So that's why there's different grade circuits, and that's one of the big things that will keep certain places from having circuit certification, because America, we have incredible tracks here like Laguna Seca or Watkins Glen, but those aren't FIA grade 1 circuits, because everyone's always like, oh my God, wouldn't it be cool to see Formula One at Laguna Seca? It would, but they just aren't built for it. I think Formula One cars would literally break if they take the corkscrew, if I'm not mistaken. And Watkins Glen, I mean, they probably could, but they just wouldn't spend the millions and millions and millions, probably like $100 million to renovate the track to make it Grade 1 certified.
Well, what's funny about that is we can have circuits that are not grade certified for Formula One, and yet they can race on the strip in Vegas.
You can bring something to Formula One grading, but yeah, the Vegas race is different though, just because that's the only one that F1 officially puts on. Do you know about how that works?
No.
Basically, the reason Formula One is so expensive is because in pretty much every other case, the city pays a hosting fee to Formula One to basically have the licensing rights to have a race at their circuit or in their city, right?
Sure.
And because it's so many millions, if not billions of dollars, they need a way to make this money back. So what they do is they pass that cost along to you. And that's why it's so expensive for a lot of people, especially here in America, to go to a race, is because they're paying an insane licensing fee for the right to have Formula One, and they need to get that money back.
Got it.
Vegas race is, if I'm not mistaken, the only one that is officially put on by Formula One. They are paying the city to have the right to have the race there.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
And that's kind of why it's as expensive as it is for that as well, because Formula's like, no, now we need our money back.
Yeah.
So different thing in its own right.
Interesting.
Yeah. But continuing about the Argentine Grand Prix, there was early contact between Quartararo and Bezzecchi. Alex Marquez took lead in lap 4, and he was pretty comfortably ahead for most of it. Worth noting that Bagnaia is on the same bike as Marc Marquez. They're teammates on Lenovo and on that Ducati. And yet, he's just not that guy compared to Marc Marquez, because he was lapping... I mean, he was keeping his delta pretty well, but he just could not put in the laps that Marc was, and that just allowed Marc to run away with it. Eventually, Marc retook the lead from Alex, and Marc and Alex finished 1-2. Bagnaia, he finished in fourth place, with Morbidelli finishing in third. But Bagnaia, he just can't touch them. It's ridiculous. I will say that Ayagura, he has hype. He's the Japanese MotoGP rider. He was the Moto2 champion last year, if I remember correctly.
Oh, so he's a rookie this year.
He's a rookie this year.
Got
it. One reason I like him, I mean, it's cool, like seeing a Japanese dude out there with all this hype and who's clearly done well in previous feeder series. But also, at least at this race, he had a Gulf livery, like the oil. Yeah, so
Gulf always delivers.
Gulf is always the coolest. So, Ayagura, I think he's going to be the one that I care about the rest of the season, the way you're going to pick random teams.
Right.
Mine's going to be Ayagura in terms of MotoGP. And then the last note I have is that this was Marc Marquez's 90th win. So, Buddy's dominant.
Yeah, absolute.
It's
absolute
really,
monster.
really crazy.
Right on.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say?
No. I think we're ready to move on to IMSA. Do a little endurancing. We are at the 12 Hours of Sebring.
Yes.
A phenomenal race, might I say. Everything about it. The week into it, I mean, IMSA was delivering on their social media game alone. I was hyped. I was completely. They had a little minute-and-a-half trailer earlier in the week for Sebring that was talking about what it is. They sampled the "Do not go gentle into that good night."
Yeah, when you sent me that.
Interstellar.
Oh my god,
dude,
coolest thing ever.
Yeah. The only note I have is the trailer for Sebring fucks, which I mean it really did. Dude, this was a great race.
It was a great race.
I was very, very into this.
Yeah. So BMW had pole, and Corby and I were actually talking about it over the weekend. To my memory, BMW was not always a great program. Last year, they started to turn it around a little bit. They weren't good in WEC last year because that was their first year in WEC. But I think they started doing a little bit better last year in IMSA. And now they're actually showing up and showing some truly competitive pace. And it was proven by them getting pole. Acura started in second, and one of the Porsche Penske cars started in third. Worth noting that Acura has Scott Dixon, the 6-time IndyCar champion. That was the Acura that started in second place.
Yep.
And down in sixth place was another Acura and one of their pilots was Alex Palou, the 3-time IndyCar champion, who's like 20-something years old. In terms of GTD Pro, which is your GT sports cars driven by professionals, that had Dragon Speed's Ferrari 296 leading the field, followed by AO Racing's Rexy Porsche and
Love
a
the
BMW. Yeah, go Rexy. Although Rexy still has controversy.
Controversial.
They had an unforced error where somebody on social media was saying, "Oh, God, guys, look how cool my car is. I painted it to look like Rexy. I gave it the teeth and everything." And AO Racing, they replied, "Hey, looks good. Also, we should let you know that we trademarked that design and we have the ability to sue you for it." And everyone was like, what the hell is your problem? Because everyone, like, Rexy's really cool. It's a Porsche 911 that's painted to look like a
T-Rex.
Yeah, big T-Rex. It's got massive teeth. One of them's gold because it won the championship last year. Everyone loves Rexy, but then they did that, and everyone's like, "Oh, you guys kind of look like assholes now." Yeah, so people aren't that happy with them on social media. But yeah, Rexy is the defending champ. One of the things I found most interesting on the broadcast is they talked about how, and I was noticing it as they were saying it, the LMP2 cars, which are the prototype cars that are spec built.
Yep.
They were...
Which is to say, everyone has the same car.
The exact same car. Yeah, same car, same engine, same everything. Visually, they're very similar to the GTP cars, the GT prototypes, because they are the same, for lack of a better term. It's just the GTP cars, they're custom built, and they are developing them all the time by the different manufacturers. But the LMP2, it's like, no, we buy them and they are what they are, but their design is identical. The LMP2 cars, because they're basically the same car, they were right there in the corners with the GTP cars. And you would think that the top class is just going to carve around everybody, but the LMP2 was right there with them, showing that they have very similar cornering ability and agility. However, as soon as they were in the straights, the GTP cars absolutely walked away with it. And they talked about the reason being is because LMP2, they are significantly lighter, but they have significantly less power. So in terms of how light they are, it allows them to be really agile in the corners and really hug the turn. However, when it gets to a straightaway, they just can't touch the performance of the GTP cars because they have so much power comparatively. So I thought that was a little bit interesting.
That's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting.
God, my heartbreak is always eternal. Brendan Hartley crashed a Cadillac about 4 hours in, which I want Cadillac to do well so badly, and yet they always refuse. Do you have the finishing order up over there?
I do. Are you looking for Cadillac?
I want to look at the furthest up Cadillac.
Okay, for GTP, it was fourth.
Fourth? And who, what team was it for?
It was Earl Bamber in the Cadillac V Series.
Okay, that's one of the factory ones, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's like not a customer car.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. At least they didn't finish last. Like, it's like not all of their cars broke.
Yeah.
One thing that was notable is this was the Valkyrie's debut.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Their debut for IMSA in North America. And one thing that they kept talking about on broadcast is how well the Valkyrie was doing. Because last year was Lamborghini's first year in endurance racing with a prototype car, and Lamborghini was failing pretty much every race. They would pull out and they would get maybe an hour in, and immediately just everything would blow up or they would crash. They're just like incompetence everywhere. And they've talked in the broadcast, especially during WEC, that you expect the first year to always be horrible because you're just basically using it as research to try to get yourself straight. And that is overwhelmingly the case, and you'll see that sometimes with customer teams who are buying either a Cadillac or a Porsche or whatever, and they just aren't performing as well as maybe the factory team. But somehow, for the most part, the Valkyrie was really in the race pretty much the entire time. What did they end up finishing at?
They ended up finishing 9th out of, I believe, 14th?
That's not bad.
14? Yeah.
Does it say how many laps back they were?
2 laps down.
2 laps down for a brand new program? That's really good. Their engine didn't blow up. They didn't crash. Like their pace was clearly decent if they were only 2 laps down.
Yep.
That means a lot for Aston Martin and
for a vehicle, the only non-hybrid prototype car out there too.
Okay, but so remember we talked about how they have a startinator. So
yes.
The thing is with these hybrid vehicles that they have, or the hybrid systems that they have in the GTP cars, is they'll use them for pit speed, for example. So there's a pit speed limit. So whenever you come into the pits to get your oil changes or brake changes or all that kind of stuff.
Or switch drivers.
Yeah. Whatever your servicing is, there is a speed limit in the pits. Because back in the day, if you watch like old Formula One clips and even like NASCAR or something, they're coming in at the full 200 miles an hour and stopping on a dime right in front of their guys. And sometimes people would get hit. It's not great. So there's a pit speed limiter that they hit. And in all of the hybridized cars, they just use the electric motors to propel them down the pit. And it's cool. It also makes it a little bit quieter, so maybe that's a little bit better. If you're sitting there in the pit, you're not hearing stuff scream by you all the time. And it's also part of the reason why people love the Cadillac so much is because there's a point where you hit the top speed of the hybrid system, the electric power, and then it bump starts the combustion engine. So there's a video that always goes viral all the time of the Cadillac switching over where it goes vroom, and it's just the craziest sound ever. So yeah, I'm bringing this up because all of the cars, almost all except the Valkyrie, have this hybrid system, but the Valkyrie doesn't.
Valkyrie doesn't.
Yeah.
It is a entirely an internal combustion engine, except for its startinator.
Yeah, they did an interview where they had something called a startinator, and the people on broadcast were like, hey, so we noticed you going down pit lane quieter because a V12 engine is just always loud, and we clearly weren't hearing a V12, but you were moving. So what are you doing? And they were like, oh yeah, we got something called a startinator.
Yeah.
Do you have notes on like what they said about it?
No, because the only description I got of it was it's an alternator and a starter in one.
Yeah.
And they were literally driving down the pits with the combustion engine, the only thing it has, off.
It's really weird. Yeah, it's just like the tiniest. They have some small doohickey that is allowing them to like actually propel forward.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make much sense at all.
No, but it rules.
It really rules.
Really
I mean,
rules.
cargo vroom and all that goodness.
Cargo room, somehow.
Yes, somehow. There's some doohickey that's going on.
We love a doohickey.
Yeah.
I love that car. I mean, it's just so, like, I keep coming back to, you've said it a number of times, they've built a F1 car, but then they homologated it.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Homologated, yes. That's the right word.
They made it street legal. Except for the fact that it has a 6.5 liter engine.
Yes.
And it's a V12.
Cosworth V12.
It's a beaut.
But yeah, props to Aston Martin
Absolutely
for doing anywhere near as well as it did for that race. 12 hours on it.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
I'm so excited to see where it goes. Yeah. One thing that annoyed me is Porsche wins. Porsche's just kind of the best, so I'm not surprised that they won.
Porsche won too.
Yeah, I mean, props to them. They have now won 36 straight hours of racing because they had a 1-2 finish in Daytona, and now they have a 1-2 at Sebring, so they're doing something right. It still hurts me, though.
Yeah.
It still hurts my soul deeply. What else? Oh, yeah. One thing that I love about endurance racing is the broadcast is several hours long, and at one point, they kind of just start screwing around and talking about other stuff. So at one point, they all of a sudden started interviewing a chicken, for example. It's just, they have downtime, and you can tell they're probably getting a little bit bored. I mean, there gets a point where we love racing. We're going to watch most of the 12 hours regardless because it's always going to be fun. But there's definitely a moment where we feel like we are in a routine and the racing gets into the routine. Sure, there'll still be passes and everything, but for the most part, especially in the beginning of those races, they're being told, hey, don't go that crazy because we got 11 hours left. We can't break this car so early on into this race. So it kind of gets into a flow for a minute, and in those times, they'll start screwing around. There's one famous clip from, I think, the 2023 Le Mans, where the camera cuts to the inside of a garage and you see two mechanics sitting on each other in reverse cowgirl. Like it's just like guys lap to lap staring at each other face to face. Like they just get so bored. There's one point where I think it was that same Le Mans, the broadcasters, I think they're like talking about doing cocaine or something like that, and they're like joking
not?
about like children. Like, it gets so unhinged, and so they're interviewing a chicken at some point in one of the camps.
Yep.
They spent a lot of time showing that AO Racing, the team that has Rexy and Roxy. Roxy's the LMP2 car that looks like a dragon. They were paying a lot of attention to their roller dogs. Did you see that part?
No, I didn't see that part.
They have, if you ever go into a gas station and you see the hot dogs that they have on those like rollers, there was a point where there was just a lot of shots showing the roller dogs, and they were interviewing one of the drivers who just got out of the car, like, tell me about those dogs over there. And the like dudes in the main booth, they were like, hey man, you gonna try one of them dogs? And then a couple minutes later, it cuts back to him and he's hounding, the like pit reporter is hounding hot dogs. It's just, it's fun.
Best.
It's so nonsensical.
It is. Endurance racing is such a party. I mean, it's such a, like, especially because you're at a circuit, right? So, like, it's not like rally where you're, like, constantly going, point to point. It's like, no, we're here for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep going.
You just keep going.
And, speaking of keeping going, more and more of these great names throughout motorsport keep popping up in... Certainly, we were talking about qualifying. Who was driving that BMW that qualified?
Kevin Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen, famous suck my balls man, Kevin Magnussen.
Who did he say that to again?
Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, his teammate.
his teammate later.
Pre-teammate.
Yeah, back when.
Suck my balls, mate.
Yeah, I think Nico was at Renault, for Formula One. Yes. That is. And Kevin was at Haas. Oh yeah, great times. And then of course. They were both at Haas. But yes, he was the pole sitter. He was the one driving that Beamer.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great. But in addition to him, James Hinchcliffe was driving for, I believe, Lamborghini. And he's famously nowadays he's one of the commentators for IndyCar. He had a car during one of the switches drop on his foot, and I don't know the condition of it. I haven't looked it up. I don't know if maybe he broke it or simply bruised it severely. But he ended up going 2 stints, like pulling a double stint in that car with a like destroyed foot, like, and had to walk it off basically.
That sucks so much.
Which I mean is just to say, like, these drivers are built different. Like they continue to show up, especially if you're endurance racing. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
That's insane.
Loaded it up with Vicodin. Just saying, get out there, 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious how he what condition he ended up in.
He was being so brave about it.
He was super chill about it. And they showed him, like, they showed one point, like, one of the pit crews or one of the trainers maybe, like, literally, like, holding his foot together with ice, like, before he got into the car, like, between stints, basically. He was just built different. Canadian, notably Canadian.
What else do I have to say about this race? The race finishes at night, and what's interesting about that is that means that the track is getting colder, so it's harder to keep your tires warm, and therefore you're going to have less grip the colder that they get. And then obviously with night, you lose your visibility issue, or you have a loss of visibility. And they were talking about how during the day, you can see a car of a different class coming behind you, and you'll know better, like, oh, that's a GTP car coming behind me. I'm going to pull over so he can get around me. But at night, you just see lights, and you can tell, like, oh, this one's coming fast, but, like, you really just don't know anything.
You don't know if it's a different class. You don't know who you're racing.
You got no clue. It's just blinders in the back, and you just hope that nobody hits you or something. It's pretty intense. In terms of the finishing... Felipe Nasser won for Porsche, which makes the back-to-back victories for Porsche Penske, and Rexy finished first in GTD Pro. Yeah, that is Sebring. Do you have anything else to say?
It was great. Part of that great Sebring social media game was they posted 2 highlight videos of previous Sebrings, the 1955 and the 1964 races. They were so good. They were great races. It was very entertaining to watch because it was like watching, it was classic racing. I mean, it was classic racing. It was classic cars. The names were classic. You had Carroll Shelby driving in the 1955. You had Carroll Shelby in 1964. You had him as a constructor with Ken Miles as his driver in that one.
Also known as Christian Bale.
also known as Christian Bale. Yeah, and of course, Carroll Shelby, we all know, is actually Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah.
And Graham Hill was driving for Ferrari in that. Graham Hill, of course, the only person who's ever won the Triple Crown of motor racing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal racing, and it was like looking at it from a different time. It's amazing how long Sebring's been there, and how it's just been like a mainstay of endurance racing.
If I remember correctly, they said it's the oldest endurance race in America.
It's an icon. It's an 100% icon. It's a great race. It's a great circuit.
And in terms of its circuit shape, it looks like, is it the needler or plasma pistol?
It looks like a plasma pistol from Halo, 100%.
Yeah. We're talking a lot about video game guns, too.
Yeah, have to.
Yeah.
That's what they look like.
That's what they look like. Should we keep it pushing?
Let's keep pushing. You're good to pass. Push to pass.
We're going to talk about the Australian Grand Prix. It's time for that Formula One on Formula 9. You want to start us off, Corby?
Let's go, baby. Australia. We're finally down under again.
Australia.
I should say, we're finally down under again as the inaugural race.
Yes.
I mean, it's the best place to start Formula One.
It's a good place.
I mean,
it's not bad.
I haven't felt it, in starting in Bahrain. Like, it's just Australia, that race. It's always so good. It's always so weird.
Yeah.
It's technically a street circuit. It's just the best. Going into it, did you know that before we get into what happened this weekend, it had, for the last 5 years, at least for the races of the last 5 years, it has the most DNFs of any race.
No. I did not know that.
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
It has the most DNFs.
I mean, it's probably because so many people are just rusty, wouldn't you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't race there in 2020 famously because that was the race where the season got postponed because of COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one that they show up that people crash out at, I guess. Or I think it probably has something. I think there's a number of places to beach yourself.
That's fair. A lot of gravels.
Like, a lot of gravel, a lot of grass.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's definitely, which we saw that almost happen.
Yeah, I hope
most times we'll get there.
Put a pin in that.
But yeah, I'm happy to be back at Australia.
You and me both. I'm with that. So as for what happened this weekend, the race was in the rain.
Race in the rain.
And that led to the shit show of all shit shows.
Well, we should say the race was in the rain. The rest of the weekend was completely dry.
Yeah, and so people were optimizing their cars around dry setups. And that is actually going to lead to a lot of differences in performance, because if you're optimizing something for the dry, you're probably going to be thinking a little bit more about like trying to figure out how you're going to cool your temperatures and things like that. But if you're running at a cool circuit, or like if you're running in the rain or something, there's going to be naturally a lot more cooling. So maybe you're able to do something that you would run the engine hotter and like harder than you would have, because cooling is naturally going to happen a little bit more. It's basically to say that there's so many different factors, and some of it can simply be aerodynamics, because you're more likely to lose traction when there's water everywhere. So maybe run a little bit more aero to counteract that. You're building around having a dry circuit, and then it's wet.
Yep.
So that is an issue in its own right.
I'm sure that threw some off. And not to mention, like, we had a lot of rookies. We had 6 rookies. It's crazy this year. We have drivers in different cars. And, this is the last year of the downforce era of Formula One.
Yeah.
Where before we move on to basically new engines at least. But, they've maxed out where aero's going, at least for this generation.
Yeah.
And so it's all going to be different, and suddenly you're racing in precarious conditions. After setting your grid in the dry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and so I will say one of the more interesting things that came out of qualifying is Williams is looking genuinely promising. They were up there during practice. I mean, if I remember correctly, Carlos Sainz had the fastest lap, period, across practice.
And he was the fastest in FP1.
Yeah. So Williams, a team that's traditionally a back marker that started to become a little bit more of a serious midfield player, they're all of a sudden having conversations a little bit with the big teams. Like they're at least somewhat in the same vicinity. That's already notable. And at first, Carlos Sainz was looking like the man who is going to put it over the edge. Albon did out-qualify him, but that didn't matter because Sainz he crashed on lap 1, as did Jack Doohan in the Alpine because of all the rain. But even before those guys crashed, a rookie named Isaac Hajar, who is racing on Racing Bulls, he crashed out on the formation lap, which, if you don't know, the formation lap is before the race actually starts. All the cars come out and they're going to do a little bit of tire warming and just, I don't know, just doing a little parade lap around. Maybe it's just for fans, but yeah, also getting the tires warm. And then they line up on the grid. And then the 5 lights go up, lights go out, and then they start racing.
Yeah, it's the lap before the race.
Yeah, the lap before the race. It's basically lap -1. Buddy crashed on lap -1.
He crashed on like turn 4.
Yeah, super early on, which resulted in an aborted start, and they had to clear the track. And at first, myself and a lot of other people were laughing like, haha, rookie. But then the camera kept cutting to this kid sobbing through his helmet.
Brutal.
Like really, really sad. Class act was Anthony Hamilton, which is Lewis Hamilton's dad. And he came up and was at least comforting Isaac when he's like so clearly crying through all of this. But it was honestly pretty sad.
It was brutal. Yeah. I mean, it's a rookie. There's going to be a lot of jitters. And racing in the rain is tough for anybody. I mean, you see it like, it's the old heads who actually can perform in the rain. You always know this, that like, well, I mean, actually, that's the saying. An old head did not perform. One particular, who's normally very good in the rain.
Who's normally great in the rain.
Normally the best in the rain.
We're talking about you, Alonso.
But, it's a tough position to be in. And Red Bull is a brutal company. They are not kind to their drivers. And to, you want to talk about how the class act Anthony Hamilton was on the total opposite. Did you see that Helmut Marko?
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, Helmut Marko, who's of course like one of the class. Like I think he's still affiliated with Red Bull, but I think he's technically off of the team.
I think his term is like he's the advisor.
So Helmut Marko, and he's been associated with Red Bull for a minute. He's an executive.
Yeah. And he's a notorious asshole and arguable racist.
Yeah, arguable, definitely. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly, definitely racist.
Allegedly.
And he came out and said that it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing that he cried, and it totally took the low road. Like, had absolutely no sense, no class, in relation to a kid. I mean, like a kid who's
really
on his first.
Yeah, and I mean, to the credit of the media, like one of the bigger pundits on F1 and Sky TV, she came out pretty quickly, like quoting Helmut Marko, and was like, "This comment sucks. You suck. We should respect this kid and his display of emotions. Like that is an important thing that we recognize that."
Yeah, I mean, these drivers are operating at the absolute maximum edge.
Yeah,
like of course they're going to be at the maximum edge of their emotions.
Yeah.
So I think that we can say like, we get it.
We do, yeah. And for what it's worth, somebody on Twitter was like, "Hey, you guys are making fun of Isaac Hajar, but remember, that's the guy who did this," and they put the video up. Have you seen him avoiding the crash in the tunnel in Monaco? Isaac Hajar?
No.
Okay.
Oh man, so we've got a F2 car who is stalled. Damn.
Like, everyone, when they saw that video, they thought, oh, this is slow motion of that car going?
No.
No, it is a car on the racing line that is crawling. And Isaac Hajar is full push behind.
Yeah, who's perfectly lined up on the racing line. And, last second.
Like, truly, some of the craziest reflexes I've ever seen. When that video came out, like the motorsports world, their jaw was on the floor.
Oh my
It went pretty big, pretty quick.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yo, this Hajar guy might be the real deal because look at this video.
That's crazy.
It is insane. It genuinely looks, it's hard to comprehend how masterfully and last minute Hajar navigated that. Yeah. So, people in defense of Hajar were like, look at this here. Mm-hmm. Buddy clearly knows how to drive. These are just bad circumstances for a first race.
Yeah, it's just...
That crash probably could have killed one or both of them.
Oh, yeah, that was insane. That was insane. So it happens. So, moving on, formation lap, We have he's in the wall. They abort the formation lap. It's a couple minutes. I think that race ends up starting at 8:15 for us.
Yeah, it
or
took a minute.
9:15. West Coast time, and 5 lights go on, 5 lights go off, and racing starts, and almost at the same turn that he goes in the wall, you have, I think it was Doohan before.
It was Doohan, and then it was Sainz.
And then it was Sainz, yeah.
Sainz is fine because people like Sainz, and he's realistically the lead driver at Williams now.
Yeah.
The crash for Doohan's not great because Doohan is very openly on notice at his team.
Yeah, at Alpine.
Because Flavio Briatore, I think his role is executive advisor to Alpine. He is a notorious, not great guy, allegedly. And he has very openly trash-talked Doohan and very quickly hired Franco Colapinto as the reserve driver, who everyone already liked, and he was pretty openly wanting Colapinto in that seat instead. And basically anytime Doohan does anything, he's kind of like, hey man, I will kill you. Allegedly. But even then, there's rumors that I guess there's a contract, like Doohan's contract says that in the first 3 races, if he's not within 1.5 seconds, I think it is, from his teammate Gasly, then he'll get fired and replaced.
That's crazy.
Which, that is so ridiculous to have that kind of contract in place and like that kill switch for a rookie and something so intense.
Yeah, that's insane. It's insane to put that on a rookie.
Yeah.
Gasly's a race winner, and he's been doing it for years.
Doohan
goes in the wall. Sainz, I think, I remember he went long somewhere at one of the turns and ended up into the wall. And that's lap 1.
Yeah.
I mean, lap 1, safety car comes out, and then they're behind the safety car for 8 laps.
Yeah, they were there until 8 laps. I will say one of the more notable things that happened in terms of rookies is Kimi did a full spin. He caught some water, spun out, but immediately caught it, and that was around lap 15. Caught it and continued forward. Kimi was a hero. He finished the race in, was it 4th place?
He ended up in 4th place.
Fourth place. He took it from Alex Albon in that Williams.
Yep.
It was looking like Albon's was going to get 4th, which would be crazy for any car. Like, that's a happy result for pretty much anybody. But again, if you're Williams, team that's historically trash, crazy. No, but either way, still be happy with that 5th Albon.
100%. And he was going to have 4th, and because Antonelli finished 4th, or was supposed to finish 4th. Yeah, he finished 4th. But under penalty.
That's right.
Under investigation, was penalized, which gave Albon the 4th, and then bumped Antonelli.
Reinstated later, yeah.
It got reinstated later, yeah.
Gotcha.
It was investigated. So Antonelli, yes, finished in 4th, directly behind.
Still great.
Yeah,
frankly, even with the penalty, finishing 5th, great for a rookie. So, good for Antonelli.
No, for real.
Kid might be the real deal, as everybody says.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Alonso crashed in lap 34.
Can't believe it.
I'm really unhappy because Norris won the race, and that's bad. Verstappen got second. Verstappen got second, which shouldn't be surprising because it's Verstappen. You can't fight him.
He was giving Norris the business. I mean, like, especially on that last 2 laps. I mean, he was on him. He was on him. I mean, that McLaren's no joke.
They kept telling Verstappen to stay out on slicks on a wet track, and Verstappen was still closing gaps on the rocket ship McLarens on intermediates.
Insane.
Oh my God!
I mean,
Verstappen is a terrifying man.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
But and if Red Bull can figure out their car this year, I mean, he's going to take it back again.
Absolutely.
It was
even then, there's a chance he takes it anyways because yes, Norris has the best car, but they were a circus out there, especially when they both spun out in like the same turns and everything. You remember when both of the McLaren spun out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well...
and you know who didn't spin out? Verstappen on slicks and wet.
Listen.
Make the excuse.
Someone won. We'll see how this season shakes up.
I'm just saying.
Let the performance perform.
Lando bins it.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, he didn't bin it, though.
Not this time, but he sure as hell almost did.
But Piastri beached it and managed to pull himself out.
Yes.
After reversing.
He beached it so hard that they actually had the graphic say that he was out of the race, but his engine was still on and he was very slowly pulling himself out of the grass, that his graphic turned back onto the timing, basically saying, somebody put a meme up saying Jesus on the third day, and it was it going from out to the timer again, saying like, I lived.
Yep,
So,
Not even the timer, plus 1 lap, I believe. He was fully behind.
It was not a lap yet.
It wasn't a lap yet.
Yeah, actually, he did get a lap down at one point, but then there was a safety car, and they allowed the teams to unlap themselves, and he still recovered to, was it 9th place?
Yeah, something insane like that.
After a full spin out towards the end of the race, fully spun out, was in the back. He recovered. That would have been 7 places because there were only 16 people. No, 14. So, but still, 5 places in just a couple laps. That's crazy, and it shows that they just have a rocket.
They do. Yeah.
It's
McLaren's got a real car.
work.
McLaren's got a real car for now.
Yeah.
But yes, as you said, at the end of the race, we were all talking. Our group was talking about how many we thought were not going to finish. I thought it wasn't going to be more than 4.
Yeah.
And I was saying that at lap 1 when 3 were already out.
Yeah, that was a bold claim.
What did you end up saying?
My hopeful for chaos was I wanted 7 people to be out. Mm-hmm. My realistic was 5. Split the difference. 6 cars were out.
Ended up with.
I don't understand.
I don't either.
Finishing out my unhappiness with that entire race is that Russell got 3rd place. What are your thoughts on Russell?
I don't really think about Russell.
That's
Frankly,
fair enough.
I really don't think about Mercedes. In fact, I wrote down that Mercedes is so forgettable that the race, the YouTube channel, when they were doing their video on the first day of free practice 1 and 2, they forgot Mercedes on their graphic.
That's great.
They put the graphic of everyone's performance and forgot Mercedes. And I was like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, ever since last season ended, all of the forums and meme pages have been talking about how Mercedes will cease to exist in the post-Hamilton era.
Yeah.
And it's being proven true every day.
Yep, yeah. Well, which is funny because they did 3-4. I mean, like, they performed.
They did.
But who cares?
Nobody cares about Russell like that.
Nope.
I'm sure people will learn to like Kimi, but right now he's just a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
People love Hamilton, which we should say Hamilton didn't do well because Ferrari didn't do well. Everyone's saying how Hamilton's quickly learning that Ferrari is Ferrari and that they will ruin a good day.
Yes.
Just because.
Yes. But the aura.
So listen, I still loved their video, and I'm still pulling for Ferrari all season long. This is not... Oh, what's the meme I sent you? It said... I never said Ferrari is good. I said I loved it. Those are 2 very different things. That's how I feel right now. And then you sent one where it's somebody with a tank of hopium looking at Ferrari stuff. And then I sent another one where it says, y'all got any pace?
Yep.
We got aura.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they have.
So I'm still sempre Forza Ferrari, despite the fact that Ferrari refuses for good things to happen.
So what they ended up finishing 7th and 8th, I believe.
Let's see.
I mean, they were if Piastri was 9th.
8th for Leclerc, 10th for Hamilton.
Oh, there we go.
When it was looking like a minute, like they were going to get a 1-2.
Yeah, so they were. It was during that that final safety car when it was Alonso. It was Alonso, I think.
I believe so.
Who was the last safety car? They were 2-3, I think. Or were they 1-2? Because they stayed out.
At least podium.
They were certainly going to podium.
Yeah.
And they were still on slicks because we mentioned it was a wet race. I don't think we mentioned that it dried up.
It dried for
around
a moment.
20 laps in, 30 laps in. Everyone goes on slicks gradually as they pit. And then the rain returns for the last 20 laps. And it was brilliant. I mean, it was absolutely like... You had half the drivers.
Pit strategies out the
Oh
ass.
my god! I mean, we I think you said this, on our first episode that you realize how much how much motorsport is just like tires. Like it's just tire strat.
Yeah.
Especially in Formula One, where that's really the only reason you pit is for tires.
It's literally the only reason. I mean, unless you
front wing damage or whatever.
bust your wing. But even then, while they're there, you have to run at least 2 tire compounds. Some races, they require you to run multiple compounds.
Right.
So yeah, if somebody hits your wing and you change your wing out, they're going to change your tires anyways.
100%.
But point is, like, tires is the reason you pit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you pit for tires. So you've got, there was a point where it was like some people are on those, wets, those intermediates. Some people are on, a variety of slicks. People are on hards. People are on mediums. And, God, it was insane. I mean, I think there was the point was, you had Lando, who was he had dropped back because he had pitted, gone to the inters, and you still had Ferrari on slicks. I think that's how that shook up for a minute. I mean...
And then when it was looking like they were comfortable, Ferrari called them into the pits, which, I mean, you could argue was the right thing because pretty much nobody finished on slicks, if I remember correctly.
Right.
But either way, I mean, Verstappen stayed out there on slicks for a long time.
He did.
Like, they didn't even give a chance for something good to happen. So Ferrari did what Ferrari does.
Ferrari did what Ferrari does.
The fun thing about the race is that, because we don't like Formula One, right? The only reason we're talking about it, we hate it. The only reason we're talking about it is because it was the season opener. But what was really cool is there's a group out here called West Coast Formula One. And if I remember correctly, my friend Aaron is the one who runs it. They organize watch parties whenever possible, like assuming it's not a race that's happening at like 4 a.m. or something like that. They organize watch parties at different bars and just in general, like it's a whole thing. We went to the one that was hosted at All Seasons Brewery on La Brea, and it was really intoxicating being in an environment filled with fans.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I don't care about traditional sports much. I know you do.
I do.
Like, you go to a sports bar during a game, it's going to have energy regardless.
Yeah.
Sure, there might be 10 different games on from all the games on Sunday or whatever, but either way, there's just going to be energy in that room, and there's likely going to be a lot of people supporting your same team. There's not a lot of motorsports. Like, there's a reason it is such a massive deal when the race comes to town and it shuts things down.
Yeah.
And so being in this environment where this bar is packed to the gills overwhelmingly with Formula One fans, like, it is a celebration just being in that room. And it was fun.
It was fun. It was very fun. I mean, you had people cheering just because someone was on screen.
And not even the racers, per se. Like, it's one thing you see Hamilton, and you're like, oh my God, look at Lewis. Or Leclerc, because, oh my God, look at Leclerc.
Look at Leclerc.
But it would just show like a random character from, not a character because they're real people, but just like
Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle,
who's a has-been race car driver who now just gives the track walks before the race where he talks to some of the people.
Yeah.
And as soon as Brundle is on screen, everyone is screaming in this bar. It was just...
The people turned in from the grid walk, I will say.
There was just so much fun in that room. And I was joking with Corbin and the other people we watched it with. I was like, yo, if this is how I could watch Formula One every week, I would still care about Formula One. Like, this is incredible what we're seeing right here. It was just, it's how it should be. I felt European.
I know. It was so great. I mean, we were lucky that the West Coast time, Australian Grand Prix ended up being at 9 o'clock, like prime, go to the bar and watch something.
Perfect hours.
Time.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, people were cheering. My God, the energy. And this was a phenomenal race.
Booing.
People were, oh my God, Christian Horner goes on screen. People are booing.
Mm-hmm.
Max Verstappen goes on screen. Literally, you have half the bar cheering and half the bar booing.
Yes. So
awesome.
Divisive, yeah.
So good. I mean,
when
exactly
Isaac crashed, at first, pretty much everybody was like, ha, screw you. But then when it cut to him crying, everyone felt the way I did. Like, basically everyone was like, oh.
Yeah.
And felt bad.
You felt it. Yeah,
like, it was a real, incredible, palpable energy.
It was.
Across the entire place.
And then this is a phenomenal race. Like, this was close.
Mm-hmm.
This was intense. There was a lot of changes. Racing in the wet's always fun. A lot of interesting, and it was that kind of racing in the wet where it was like, we got some racing and then we got some pace car or, safety car, maneuvers. They ended up finishing under green flag. Like it had everything.
Everything.
And you had multiple DNFs. So the energy was natural, but people were for everything. They were screaming when somebody spun out. I mean, when Oscar Piastri went out and came back in,
literally everybody. I got excited because I was like, cool, that's 5 cars out. Like I was so happy that I was gonna win this bet. And then the camera cuts to him reversing, and the whole bar, oh my God, like just craziest.
Yep.
It was so insane.
Yep.
Yeah. It was lovely. And I'm not going to lie. Like, again, if I could watch every single race like that, I would still be locked in on F1. 100%. I mean, because I feel like being in that room would make even Monaco fun. Because Monaco, nobody passes each other. It's not a real race.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like it would still be fun watching it in that environment.
But yes, watching all of those. I mean, every time someone went into the wall, like that was crazy. And yeah, those last 2 laps, that real racing that Verstappen and Norris were doing. I mean, it was tight.
It was insane to watch, especially because Verstappen was on Norris's ass at the end there. He was just coming in so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a silly race.
It was a great race. Race. I loved it, and I loved watching it in that environment.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun, like, as you said, I wish that all of motorsport we could have experienced that way. I mean, certainly it'd be great if we could do IndyCar that way too.
And see, that's something that makes me really hopeful is now that Fox has the contract to broadcast all of IndyCar, they've had these great ads that are coming out that talk about how it's the fastest form of racing in the world, which is true, unless you count Top Fuel dragsters, but nobody in the world does. It's the fastest form of racing because they're averaging 240 miles an hour at Indianapolis. The fastest an F1 car has ever gone, period. Not even an average, just the fastest it's ever gone is 236. So, like, IndyCar is just faster. Sorry to say it. But they've advertised that, and people have come up to me at bars, and we've just struck up conversation, and they brought up IndyCar without me even mentioning, oh, I'm a automotive motorsports photographer, yada, yada. Like, it just comes up now. And people are talking about it a lot on forums. They've had just such a massive marketing push that's really exciting, and it truly is making it feel like IndyCar has the potential to be the next big thing, and I think it has every right to be, and that it should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we're lucky and they play their cards right, that could be the next big thing.
It'd be awesome. It'd be great. It'd be great if it kind of gets that Formula One treatment that has suddenly just this uptick in. And I think like Formula One, you know, its popularity over the last couple. I think we said this in episode 1. Its popularity over the last couple of years has been, you know, a rising tide, raising all ships, and you know, hopefully it brings up everything, including IndyCar, including IMSA. You know, if endurance gets that same push, like it. I'd love to watch more motorsport with people. I mean, we've certainly you know, watched a lot together. We've watched a lot with our friends who don't give a shit about motorsport. You know, just because it is like a fun thing to hang out and do. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely hope that this trend continues.
I have an Instagram account to show you. I'll show you it off air. I was at an event tonight, hence why I'm wearing this lovely suit here.
I'm underdressed for the pod.
He's very underdressed for the pod. This man wears racing merch. I wear suits. And at the event, I met somebody whose boyfriend's little brother runs the IndyCar memes page. And apparently it's like, because IndyCar is such an untapped market, it's really trying to get bigger, and the IndyCar guys like all follow it and love it. And they said that they were actually invited to go to the Long Beach Grand Prix last year by Pato because they just all love it. And she was saying that the drivers will send him memes or like send him things that they're doing. Like, hey man, if you feel like making a meme out of something here. So yeah.
Could you just kind of become the official, unofficial meme page of IndyCar?
I'm going to show you the, what's it called? Just a profile photo on it because you'll get a laugh.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's that. Do you have anything else to add?
I do not. What a great weekend for motorsport. I mean, like, it was a busy weekend. I think it was just about as busy as the weekend we started for our episode 1. We didn't even talk about NASCAR. Who cares? I think it was in Vegas.
Who cares?
This week.
Thank you for watching today's episode of the Formula None podcast. It's been lovely. I'm so happy that we could be here with you and share this moment. And
No, it's really nice.
I really wanted to get sincere with that one. Did that work?
Yeah, I really felt that one.
I put on my sexy voice for that one.
Vroom.
Vroom. Thank you.